Okay, and now we're on the clock. So I really want to hear more about last night and what you got out of it and what triggered you to reach out.
Well, now I've been listening. I've got your book. I've been listening to you for quite a while with the podcast ever since. And you went in Telos. I got the Telos book. Well, I think I started with the Telos book first. I got two of your pictures on my wall. So I've been doing this a while. But what started for me before I got hooked up with you, there were four of us that would do meditation and we would get together and just raise the vibration, send it around the planet. I started getting these light codes in my third eye. I didn't know what it meant. I just said, oh, that's pretty. And so that happened for a couple of years. And then I also have 42 Vogel crystals with lights and everything that I lay under. And that connected to, they said some of the ships are made out of those.
Yes.
And so, and then I got all tangled with Marcel Vogel and all, research and all that, but I go under those crystals and other people do too. I think that connected some to the light codes. But then what started happening when I would do energy work with people, the light codes, and this just started maybe 6 months ago, would come through my third eye and my hands into the people. But then I don't know what it means. Like, what is this happening? Do I need to know what it means? And I might say, well, you received some light codes, and it doesn't happen every time. And they'd be like, what does that mean? I'm like, I don't know. I have no
No, they have to be ready on the other side to receive whatever it is that you're giving. But just, I don't want to interrupt you because I want to hear the rest of what you have to tell me. I had that same sensation maybe in the spring, where I had some interactions with a couple people who are quite advanced on their spiritual journeys. And I hold them in high regard because when I hear them, I could tell what's authentic that comes out of them. They're not trying to spew anything for anybody to believe. They're just explaining, the nature, the energy that they're feeling. So in my mind, there's nothing these people need from me, right?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, but both of them reached out. One,
Was that the couple? I saw the podcast with the couple.
no, these were a couple of individuals before that really got my attention because I, like you, have been carrying something that I was given in September of 2022. I was told I was going to be carrying these and that they would blossom when the time was right. It was made clear back then, many things need to line up before that happens. But I had it. Then these physical interactions I had with the light beings and what sensations I felt from that, I knew what I was carrying and where I got it and how that took place. Then I realized it was my obligation to pass that along to others. So some get those codes when they hear me. Some, it's more effective in my mind when there's a physical exchange. Doesn't need to be touched, but there's a presence that when we're together, that type of energy exchange is totally different. In my mind, that's what I'm supposed to be doing next. Not to talk in front of huge crowds. Been there, done that, and there's a piece of that might have some relevance, but it doesn't reach the people who are on the same vibration that I'm on. And I'm not here to, wake the masses. It's too late, in my opinion, for that. And the shift is right around the corner. So my job
is happening so fast for me now. Like that's what's like. I went to the gym. This was weird. If I hadn't been listening to this stuff and understanding, I would have thought I had a stroke or something. This man walks by that I don't know, never seen. He said hello, and instead of my mind was saying hello, but these words came out. They weren't loud, but they came out. It was like a sentence. It was not English, and it was not like French or something. It was like, I don't know what that was. I don't know what I said. I'm glad. And then I was like, I'm glad he didn't hear me because I don't know what just happened. I would have thought if I hadn't been, I would have thought I had a stroke or something. But I was not, I was totally coherent and everything, and functioning. And I thought, okay, that's weird. And then like a week later, I see a man from the back that looks similar. And it reminded me. So I went to tell my friend about it. And I said, he looked like that man. And there was no man there. She said, what man? And I know I saw a man there.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay. Now just today, I went to get my teeth cleaned. The whole time there were these colored orbs in the room. It felt like it was like a being, like, I wonder what they're doing, watching. I don't know if that's true or not. That's just what
I sense that it is. And here's the revelation I had a couple of months ago, that we don't experience these things because we go to a place where that environment is, and all of a sudden we just experience it. No, these things are around us, and they manifest around us where we are. Not that I traveled to Grafton, Illinois to look in the sky and see things during a sky watch, because I only saw it there. That was when it occurred to me that I'm looking at the same freaking constellations as I was when I was in California or
right.
Arizona. The things that were showing up because I provoked that energy to interact. And the people around me, I see them, there's a level of awareness that they have. So these things are happening there as well. Now, we talked about them for a while, but more and more evidence is showing up. Clearly, we have the technology in our hands with our iPhones and Androids and whatever to capture this extraordinary information, but we've been straddling dimensions for a while. We're getting used to what's on the other side, and I'm convinced it's for us to get used to it first, which isn't an easy thing yet, so that we can assist others to explain the phenomenon while it's going on. You and I didn't have any frame of reference before this. We're just trying to figure it out on our own. But something tells me that this information's been locked away for a while, and all I'm doing is recalling it right now. My story isn't any different from the others I've shared this kind of experience with.
So my friend said, have you ever heard light language? Maybe it's the light language. I don't know what I mean, my brain says, how's this useful? I don't even know what was said. You know what I mean? Like, how is that useful to anybody?
Good for you.
Me
That's
or-
really the question to ask. You're right. Over time, it will make sense. And I've been around light language enough to know that there's not just one. In these sessions that I was in with Yaya, I could pick out different entities that were communicating during these sessions. The cadence was different, the pattern was different, the sound of it was different. So I began picking up on the nuances of what she was channeling, and there were multiple beings that were communicating. So we just need to get used to the idea that the things that we think are unusual, and we don't have anything within our reality wherewithal to explain any of that. Well, we're reaching into places where we're not familiar with any of that information, but it doesn't make it any less real. Yeah, this energy around us is heightening. So when I shared those others that somehow I triggered in some way, that all happened recently. So like you, I see this energetic condition raising at a rapid rate. And when I keep looking at what's going on with the sun, I see it's coming. I understand that what is going to shift us into Earth's next level of consciousness is here. That's why we begin to feel it and we can articulate it. And most of the rest of the people around the planet are just clueless, staring into their iPhones. But there are a handful of us that were woken up, because my life wasn't any different than anybody else's for 60 years. I did all the things that everybody else did until I got to this point, and somehow some other information came to me, and it all resonates. I can tell you what I feel and what others are beginning to report, and uh, where I believed that this was going to be some rendition of a solar flash. I've been watching the sky for 2 years now, and all the resulting seismic activity that occurs as a result of it. I've been watching over just the last 2 years. I've watched it build. I remember when I would look at the earthquake maps, and most of the activity was, on the other side of the Pacific. It didn't seem like it was as intense as it was along the west coast of North America. But look at, there's swarms of them now. And when we get these brushes of solar activity that come at us, they're triggering higher level geomagnetic storms than they should, given our little brush with what's coming past us. So I think it was last month when there was a series of them that clearly there's a lot of solar flaring activity that's been elevated. I think science, everybody agrees, we're in solar maximum right now. And so when you see these things coming across the limb, last month there was a period where, over a 4 or 5 day period, I think the last two we counted before they went across the limb were flares 8 and 9. So we started to get, I felt, that energetic stuff while it was going on. Now we got to just the last 2 weeks. Yeah. As of Wednesday, 2 weeks ago, that same solar activity began. We got some coronal hole, wind coming at us, and then we saw the results of these flares. Well, over the last 2 weeks, we have not dropped out of some type of geomagnetic storm level. We haven't dipped below G2 for 14 days. In my mind, it's not going to be one blast that's going to change things here.
Right.
That over time, the magnetic field has weakened. This perpetual energy just keeps coming at us. And sooner or later, these things that look like they don't produce anything. And afterwards, those experts that have been watching it are stunned by the level of excitement that's been recorded that they didn't see. I'm just telling you, get ready for this energetic change. It's coming. People like you and I are already stepping into the next dimension and coming back to report on it so that we can help others come to terms with it.
Do you think a lot of people will, just from the energy, just like check out? Like they don't know what to do with it or whatever? I mean,
Well, I didn't know what to do with it. I'm pretty sure you didn't know what to do
but
with it.
I think I mean, I have been on a path, a metaphysical path for a long time, thinking differently than other people. I'm thinking of people that are very, very much 3D. Like, do they think they're going crazy? Is that why there's more mental health? I don't know. The mental health is, I
I
work
don't see them engaged yet. They're still too busy with what's going on in 3D to be aware of anything else.
so they
Now,
don't even
yeah,
notice it, right?
no, they don't feel it because their vibration is just stuck in this density that it doesn't raise high enough, honey, to experience the things that you and I do. That's where they're stuck. And the longer they continue to look at this thing, the less chance they have of experiencing something beyond all of that. And it's not like this energy isn't coming at us. I feel physically that solar energy. And over the last 2 week period, my appetite's gone to basically nothing. Nothing sounds appetizing
Yeah,
anymore.
I struggle with that. But sleeping too. I started taking nap. I don't usually do that. I'll just be like, oh my God, I'm so exhausted. And
Well,
I'll
part of that was climbing out of Mercury retrograde,
right,
and we just came out of that. So I had been advised really over the last couple of weeks, if you feel tired, just give into it.
right.
Your body is telling you that, first of all, there's a purge that's been going on and you need to adjust, because once that retrograde is cleared, whatever is coming to backfill is some other information that we've been waiting to give us some more clarity. Yeah. We're getting light code packages at an accelerated rate. And now, where I discerned when I was getting downloads that were metaphysical as opposed to the physical ones, yesterday was one of those days I had 3 physical downloads. I get this, and they were loud ringings when they came through. They don't last but a minute or so, but oh, they come through and they're undeniable.
Ears ringing like,
Yes,
yeah, I've had that.
I understand when my left ear ignites, those are metaphysical ones that I've been getting. And those came regularly. It was like a roller coaster with the frequency of them. But yesterday, and since the beginning of the year, I didn't understand and couldn't equate these physical sensations you were telling me about when my right ear, and it wasn't that active until after the first of this year. And I sense that this other solar energy we feel, here's the stuff that is not just opening our DNA, it's actually upgrading it, because the level of light and that spectrum is unfamiliar to us. We've been living on half of that type of spectrum of light, and it's really the catalyst for the sentient consciousness to be raised. That's why we sense it, we feel it, and we now have an interpreter that we've downloaded that helps us understand what it is that we just received. Now, it took a while because you got to have a few of these experiences before you have enough of them to put them into perspective and you can start to understand what that is. And the understanding is first for us, and then it's for those that show up that heard that we seem to have some energetic synchronicities, and now we get the validation. When you told me about you were passing these codes onto others, that's what triggered me. Because when I started to tell you about those 2 individuals that I didn't think needed anything from me, and they reached out, the first one went like this. I don't know what she heard me. She had heard, I think, and just listened to one of the shift watches and heard something that triggered her. And so she reached out and said, there was something in what you said that triggered me. Do you work with others? Because whatever it is, I want more. Now, I didn't know what the hell it was either, Rhonda, just like you, but
Right.
now I do. I understand that there's some other light quotient that I help them unpack that I carried here. And now I can see it beginning to spawn with others. So you apparently have that same gift, and you carry it, and during your interactions you've just exchanged that light level with someone else who
So
was ready to receive it.
but nothing needs to be said to them.
um
That's what, because I don't know what,
no,
if they,
no,
because if they
nothing
say,
needs
well,
to be
what does
said.
that mean? I say, I don't know what that means.
It's all energetic. We're changing energetics. We're not teaching you some other language or words that you
Right.
need to perpetuate. No, no, no. There's an inner knowing that we just help you crack open. And it wasn't that we gave it to you, it's been nested in you all along.
Right.
These first light codes, in my opinion, are here to help us understand the higher realm vibration, first of all. And once that interpreter is in place, then the additional light codes that came to actually help us understand what's being said. Now we have this interpreter that helps us understand vibratory language. When when I think of how the information is going to be exchanged, it's not coming in any freaking earth language. It's not going to be English or German or Italian or French or Spanish or no. We are already communicating in terms of vibration. And that's what they're helping us to understand. That's when we get to the next level. And that's when all of your telekinetic type of communication connections, all of those begin to crack open because we can communicate with one another without having to say any words. Yeah.
Now I have a son that we've always kind of, I don't think he knows it, telepathically always kind of communicated with him. But when those words came out, I don't know what, I still don't know what the purpose, what it means. I guess I'll find out later if I need to know. I don't know.
Well, you will.
Or-
It's other information. You wouldn't have received the information if it wasn't meant for you. And when we hear these things for the first time, we need to kind of put that into perspective. It wasn't anything we had any experience before, but after the second or third occurrence, now we realize that this information was meant for us. And it takes the second or third occurrence to become familiar with experiences we've never had before.
Right.
We're stepping into realms that we didn't know anything about and had no experience with in this density. But the Earth's density is changing. And those of us that are in tune with that, we're raising our vibration and watching the world change around us. Yeah. And others are being triggered in the same way. So you're carrying light codes that others are going to be triggered by. Yes, you're right. Sometimes you don't have to utter a word. And I suspect that guy in the gym, he noticed your light and responded in some way. If it was light language, great. Then here is, your first awareness of, that sounded different, but
Yeah,
certainly got your attention. And now I
definitely.
understand what more that is. So when I started to report on these things earlier, not my own experiences, but others, that's when I began to hear others break out into light language that they had heard or uttered when they were young, when they were kids, or sometime earlier in their life. And when it wasn't well received, they just shut it down. Well, now when they're hearing reports about it, they are second guessing their decisions. Clearly, they're connected to something beyond themselves that they're getting an awareness of. And it wasn't anything that we learned from any other place. We didn't learn about it at school. Church certainly didn't cover it. My friends are unaware of this, and it wasn't in mainstream media for sure, but it's undeniable this is taking place.
So babies will be speaking it. Probably.
I've seen certainly lots of evidence of younger kids that have this gift, that their DNA didn't seem to be as handcuffed as ours was. And they just have wisdom that these poor little things, they just utter. And reports of things that they've seen, because they're connected beyond that. People should really pay attention to what they're saying. And
Yeah.
then
Yeah, I heard the thing about the 6-year-old that you talked about in the
yeah,
video.
I hear more things like that and know that these kids are here to assist us in some other way.
Right.
Yeah.
It's exciting time to be here. I mean, the other side is like, the hot water, my hot water heater is leaking, the technology's not working right, all these other aggravations are going on, but yet there's at the same time the good stuff. So
we
Yeah,
still have to live in this
yeah,
freaking
we still,
3D world
I
and
know.
deal with all the physical things associated with us.
Yeah,
Look, we came here to help Source learn more about itself. If we really believe we're sparks of Source, which I fully do,
mhm.
my job in my soul contract was to pick out the lessons I was going to learn along my journey. And in doing so, I learned the good stuff and the bad stuff of that lesson because we're in a state of duality here. Over time, I contribute that to my Akashic records. And sooner or later, that merges with the collective. So the things that we're experiencing, you experience, I experience, sooner or later, the collective benefits from that duality knowledge. And hopefully, you won't have to repeat the same lessons. And none of our journeys are the same. There is a level of mastery that you are on a path to achieve. It's already inside you. You're just unpacking whatever it is to get to that. And it's not like anybody else's. I have a gift that's similar, not your gift, but in the same way, I'm designed so that my gift is different from everybody else's. And when the tribe comes together and we use our gifts collectively, it's I had been given a phrase from Kumu that she told me to repeat daily, and it goes like this: all of life comes to me with ease, joy, and glory. And so when I start to think of, how things are being received, I see things that are coming in my direction that I don't understand how they did or how he found me, but there was purpose behind it. And I find God, clarity and um, a sense of calm because somebody else out there is going through the same things I'm going through. Yes, it sounds like my path is really mature, but if you look back, what's really happened here energetically has happened within the last 4 years. And as of the beginning of this year, that whole timeline was accelerated in a way that I don't understand, but it's coming at us faster. All the more reason why I sense that the shift is coming faster than any of us
I can feel
expected.
it. Yeah, I can feel it faster too.
I had been given a couple of years ago, I think it was in late maybe 2022, where I had been drawn to information on the golden Taya allotments. Have you heard me talk about them? Do you know what I'm referring to?
Mm-mm. I don't think so.
Um, well, first of all, the Solarians were placed in my field, and I needed to do my due diligence to figure out what that meant and who they were. And when I learned about them, it came as part and parcel of this other document that was channeled through a reliable source back in, I think it was in the 90s, when this channeling from Toth and this explanation of what he calls light principle 40. It's the process from going from Earth World 1 to Earth World 2, this shift in consciousness. There were people who had energetically begun to feel this back then. And so Maya, the one who had been documenting this and many other things, put it in her archive, and it will cross my path when it was supposed to. Well, when I read just the first paragraph of, I think there's 5 pages, and if you really want to understand this concept, if you read the first 2 or 3, you'll get it. The first paragraph goes on to talk about this light principle 40 and the time frame that he projected back then was between 2015 and 2025. Now, when I read that energetically, it certainly felt like that was possible. Now, the article goes on later to talk about timelines are shifting all the time. Could be later, could be earlier. But the more I paid attention, and felt how this resonated with me, something told me that this was on an accelerated path as well. And that, man, it's just as likely to happen tomorrow
Yeah.
as sometime into the future. When that reality kind of struck me, um, at first, because it also mentioned in there that the intent behind making that information more public had been tempered because they didn't want to excite the collective with information that they probably weren't going to understand. People would see that for the catastrophic elements of what it is, because, oh, that's coming. They didn't understand that these golden tile allotments are predisposed areas on the planet that already vibrate at the next level. You've heard of them before. And even if you don't understand the energetic areas of these, when people hear about Sedona and Shasta in Egypt and Greenland and Australia and, many other places, people have been drawn to these areas for reasons they didn't understand before.
Yeah.
And now we know. Part of it is they were drawn there to assist in the clearing process, to raise the vibration in that area. So when others show up, it will be ready. And others just went there because they didn't know any different. They were just drawn to these areas. Um, I've heard so many stories about people whose metaphysical life just kind of switched on. There was one woman who comes to mind every time I think about this scenario, and she lived in England somewhere. Taught school all her life. Her husband was involved in some other business. And all of a sudden, as their retirement approached, her awareness of multidimensional things was starting to come into view for her. And somehow they decided they were supposed to move near Glastonbury. And so that's where they were. When she reached out to me, that's where they were. When I asked her, what made you pick that place, she said, I don't know. It just energetically felt like I was supposed to be here. So here's another story of the same kind of evidence of people that are being drawn energetically to these places. Because in my mind, we're not going to see the year 2026 on a calendar. That's somewhere between now and then. This solar triggering is going to just push us over the level. If I've been watching this solar maximum period with a lot of interest, and science believes that we're going to be in this scenario where we find ourselves in now into 2026.
Wow.
And if this activity extends the way that it is, these extended perpetuations of flare after flare, it's reasonable to me that here is when it's going to happen. It explains plenty of things why even the people I've just pointed in energetic directions came back and found what I told them they would find. And not just found it, in a lot of cases, they freaking recorded it. There's your evidence that all of this is on a path that's true.
Yeah, I think it was 1996, I was drawn to go to Stonehenge. I didn't know, but now when I look back, but back then, I didn't know why. Like, why? There's some stones there, you know what I mean? So, it is, people are drawn even though if they don't know why.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's an energetic part. There's a metaphysical part of all of us.
Right.
We've just ignored
Shut
it.
it down. Yeah.
Yeah. But somehow this astral help, call them angels, however you want to see these beings that are coming here to assist us, are using every method possible to get our attention and open us up to the unusual things we're experiencing that I certainly didn't have any experience with. And I'm kind of reluctant to talk about it with others because it's outside of their reality.
Right.
And here's the difference in my mind today between us and everybody else is that we've allowed ourselves at least the possibility that these things are in fact really happening because we didn't have any experience with any of this before. If we'd have shut it down, we'd been in the same place with everybody else, still just, looking, and we've boxed ourselves in to things that we think we understand. There are a lot of things that are being opened up into realms that we don't understand yet, but it's all marvelous and exciting when you can finally put this into perspective and sense your way through it.
Yeah, it is. It's exciting. But there's going to be a lot of people that need a lot of help. I feel like it's because there's a lot of people looking at catastrophe. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes. Well, we've all been conditioned that way. Look, even my third dimensional reflex is to, think about the physical part of what's been going on.
right,
I certainly have friends that live in SoCal and they're experiencing those aftershocks. They've been in the area for a while, so it's not like it's uncommon. But the fact that we're getting multiple tremors a day, that needs to be paid attention to.
right. It's intensifying.
Yes. Every time we see another earthquake, it's evidence of me, that solar energy that's coming at us. The earth just got hit with it. It's like we took an electrical charge. So somehow the earth has to absorb that. And like any other bit of energy, it's got to express it somehow. So where the mantles join, here's where you start to see all this activity because the plates are shifting. It's not like we didn't have landmass changes over Earth's history. I don't know that there'll be landmass changes coming associated with this, but I suspect that there's going to be some breaking along these fault lines. And here is an area from just off the Oregon and Washington coasts, that upper part of the fault line connects to SoCal. So to see that activity in tremors coming, I don't want to say it's unsettling, but it's attention getting. When I was watching this type of activity for the last 2 years, I didn't see that predominance in North America like that, but it's happening now. I had heard a report yesterday that somebody had responded to, I can't remember what conditions was, but it wasn't an earthquake. But they were reporting from Florida, that they had felt an earthquake, I think in like the Fort Lauderdale area. So I remember when I lived there in Florida, we said, yeah, we get hurricanes, but we never get earthquakes. Think again.
Yeah.
Think again. This phenomenon is going to work itself out wherever it can find spaces. But even looking at the continental United States, we don't get earthquakes in New York. We don't get earthquakes in Maine, and yet we have.
Right.
I can explain, and it makes sense to me, where in Oklahoma and Texas, where we're getting more of that activity, yeah, that's where all the drilling and fracking takes place. So I know when you go down there and you start to knock on Gaia's doors, that you might be poking the bear, maybe. But in the spirit of commerce, we continue to do that. We don't understand what we're doing to the planet. And in my opinion, all of this angelic assistance is coming because humans have demonstrated what they could do to the planet in the past by dropping atomic bombs and destroying something that we don't possess, that we haven't even been good stewards of. But in the 80 to 100 years that we're here, we can cause that kind of permanent damage to the climate. That's, in my opinion, why other help began coming in the 50s and 60s. In my opinion, I incarnated in the 50s to assist with this process, to change the way that we treated Earth, and just be aware from our own perspective, because it's not likely I'm going to change everybody's mind. But
No,
I know, in my opinion, and what I can contribute, I know what that looks like. I know I'm here to help the planet first, not humanity, the planet. And humanity will benefit as a side effect of what's going on. That's where my intention and my efforts go.
that's good. Good stuff.
Yes. So when people like you reach out, and I did that the other day, um, I had posted again in the private group on Facebook um, the information about the Solarians and how all that came to me. And that revealed itself over a 2-year period as well. Because when it first came to me, I didn't understand what any of it was. But boy, as things lined up, now I understand what they meant, and helped me bring some clarity from Egyptian sources that I was unaware of, but certainly had. Now I see things much more clearly. I see this timeline and where I was in the past, and what that's going to help contribute to now. Yeah.
Your past,
I'm sorry.
your past will contribute to now. Is that what you're
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. I was certainly aware of Atlantean energies for a long time, and that's where my focus was. Even before this, I had this craving for, learning more about Atlantis. Well, you can't really learn about Atlantis without learning about the Lemurians, but I didn't go deep diving into them until I went to Shasta and had purpose to learn more about them. Um, then along the way, I'll learn about connections I had in Egypt, which came out of left field for me. But when I had been handed a little token before a session that I was invited to, that I thought I was just an observer to, no, I was very much a participant that night. And I was awakened to what that was then. I didn't know anything about that, but over the last 2 years, it's certainly played out, and I understand what it means now. So I've been carrying space for other aspects other than just my own higher aspect to come through. I don't say that I channel Osiris, although I do. I don't say that I channel Thoth. That's for my information. I don't say that to get any attention from somebody else and hold this out as something special that I have that you don't. I know I'm connected in that way, and that somehow that was meant for me. But I'm here for those that do connect with it, for them to realize that they have those same connections. Yeah. We're connected at this level with them. And we need to just remind ourselves of that.
Yeah. I'm very connected too to Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene, the scenes,
Yes.
and all
Yeah.
them. Also,
There is light we're passing. And at first, like you, I didn't understand what it was. Those 2 incidents this year got my attention because I knew I had been carrying something I'd been told for a while. And I just wanted to know, okay, what does that mean?
I know.
And when will it finally
And what do
hatch?
you do with this? Yeah.
Right, right. Well, now, as more people are bringing that kind of in my field, now I understand what that means more. And that, yes, I knew I had been passed light codes during my physical interactions with those light beings. There's pictures that demonstrate that it happened. And I can tell you about what I saw, heard, and felt that day. I knew that those codes weren't meant for just me, that over time, I would pass them on to others in ways I wouldn't understand. So just like you, when you start to sense these interactions with others, you're passing light that they recognize that we, for a while, are unaware that we're carrying until a few of these incidences come along. And then we recognize that these other people came around and claimed they picked up something from me. I don't know what they picked up. And even with those two individuals, I went back and kind of explained where I was. I said, I've been trying to figure out what it is that you claim I gave you that I've been carrying for a while. So I'm hoping you can help cast some clarity on it all. They did to a degree, but I'm still not there with all of the wisdom that I think I was supposed to get out of this. And there are more people that are going to come around, and I knew they would. You're evidence of that. You heard Sheila and I talking about something that provoked you to reach out and just get some more clarity.
When you talk about the light codes, because I hadn't run into anybody else in my little world that was talking about that. And I didn't really understand, like, I have a friend, I tell her, but she's not experiencing it. She experiences other things. But so I'm like, what is this? It has to mean something. Why?
Yeah.
It's been going on for a few years. First just coming to me, and then recent this year to other people. So then the thing is, like, I'm in the dentist chair, right? Which I don't enjoy, but so then I just saw, oh, I could watch it was pretty, the colors are pretty. Watching it floating around and stuff. And so does that mean this lady, she doesn't know it, received it?
Maybe if she was open to it, I can't say.
Yeah.
I can't project on what you can paint a scenario and I can explain it. I'm not capable of doing that. However, the fact that you had that experience in kind of a dense 3D
Right.
environment, think about it.
Right.
Yeah, that you still have the ability to interpret that even under those conditions. To me, that's evidence of how thin the freaking veil is,
Right.
so that you can experience things from higher realms in this density right where I'm sitting right now. And others, because of their vibration level, are totally oblivious to it. Part of our job is to just kind of help almost pass that energetic baton. So when you're there and you sense it, it's here. And if they picked up on some light you were carrying, that's when their awareness will snap in and they'll begin to experience those same things. I'm convinced we're not here to tell the stories about how that's done. It's just our presence when we're around, somebody picks up on that.
Oh,
And
goodness.
then
Well,
codes.
That's much
That,
easier.
yeah, yeah. Well, a lot of it is we're carrying stuff we're unaware of
Right.
and still trying to unpack it for ourselves. And we're finally coming into that awareness that there's something tangible about it. And it's not that I can advertise that I have this and come and get it,
No.
because I don't know how that process takes. All of us are in different journeys and we're going to get it in different ways. But I can see that people are definitely getting it. So that's undeniable. It's great. To me, it's more the tribe showing up and we're exchanging these experiences we've had. And to me, it's just validation of everybody is having these experiences, contributing to helping others understand what we're going through. Because we're still talking about multi or metaphysical experiences that isn't really on other people's radar. But I hold out hope, because if it came to me and accelerated over these last few years, I'm confident that it's going on with others as well. And it wasn't necessarily the people that have been in this world for 20 years or 30 years. I've been exposed to them in this community as well. And I can see where their ego is holding them into the place that they're at. Yeah. I clearly, that's not the purpose I was given these gifts. I wasn't supposed to turn this to an empire. No.
Right. That it's not, well, it feels more like, which is way better. It's not really our job, right? It's whoever shows up,
Yeah.
they want it, but it's not trying to convince somebody or hurry up, any of
Well,
that.
we've resigned ourselves to the fact that we can't convince
Yeah.
anybody of
No,
any
you
of this
can't.
stuff.
No,
If 10 years ago you'd have tried to convince me about all this, I'd had second thoughts. And it wasn't that I didn't have other things going on in my life that occupied my attention. So really, in order for me to understand what I did, the universe set the circumstances in place where I could almost withdraw from all of that. My obligations raising my family were satisfied, and my wife, had moved on to the next thing. So when I began to experience these things, it wasn't that other things got in the way of the attention that I would want to spend exploring these opportunities. Um, I wasn't going to be suited to have another job where I would work for somebody else again since COVID kicked in. To me, in my journey, that's when the real acceleration took place.
mhm,
And I suspect it would for others when they started to think about what'd you do with your time when you weren't working and when
right,
you were locked down in your house. I'm not here to preach on any of that. I can only tell you that what happened with me during that period of time was kind of the inception period. By then, I had had 2 years, actually more, of understanding a meditative state and being able to achieve it. And once I could, physical changes happened in my body. And then the rest of this metaphysical component opened up.
right,
But man, I didn't have any experience for any of that before. And I just had to keep looking at it in terms of the wonder it was showing me and all those extraordinary things and the light beings that were showing up. And I didn't call for any of it. These
no,
things were passing my path in ways I didn't understand. Were they extraordinary things? Yes. How in the hell did I get to sit in front of the Mitchell Hedges crystal skull? And it wasn't just once. During that period of time, I was there for 4 days. There would be 3 times I would get to do that. Yeah, something told me that was meant for me. Somehow, Andara crystals and the powder ethereum that they're made out of would come across my path and would be provided for me. I didn't even know about such things, but they were provided for me along the way. And then I can point out to other extraordinary things that were placed along my path that how in the world do those happen? Unsolicited messages that I was receiving through other channels that was sure authentic. And they led up to physical interactions with light beings. You can't dismiss any of that, but it's certainly not a path anybody else is taking. And had I had to worry about obligations and caring for my family and a job, those opportunities wouldn't have come my way.
right.
And so, did I take a leap of faith just jumping out on what I was going to do? Hell yes. It wasn't that I certainly didn't ask myself how I was going to wean off of making 6 figures a year to nothing. And that's when my guides told me that when the time came, there would be sponsors that would show up and I wouldn't worry about the rest. That's why I've mindfully not succumbed to advertising on the website. There were some channels that I was asked to, post my information on that I can see is just a mechanism for them to sell something else. Well, this news wasn't meant for any of that. And so I turned them down. And it hasn't been easy. I didn't look at my situation in the information I had as a model to build some kind of
Business.
empire out of. Yeah, it's not a business. I struggled with trying to figure out how to charge people for what I knew, and I couldn't come up with it.
Right.
I wasn't supposed to charge for it. This information was meant for everybody else. And as hard with financial magic along the way as it might have been, I'm still alive here to tell the story somehow. And when I look back at the circumstances, that's when I was telling you before about when I looked over my life, I would see these places where I would elevate and then I'd reach a level and I don't go any further. Well, now I understand why. I wasn't supposed to go any further. I wasn't supposed to have incredible financial rewards from those pieces of my journey. Um, I saw the people that interacted in my life and how all that came to be. And I saw I had a life of detachment from the get-go and didn't really understand that. What I would understand, because as I got older and started to spend time in friends' houses, my father was divorced when I was 4, and he had 2 other kids. And back in 1958, that wasn't normal for dad to get custody of the kids. So for the next 11 years, I grew up with my grandparents and had a dad who was a young man, early 20s. He was out doing his thing. And I had no mother figure other than my grandmother. To me, I didn't understand the difference because I didn't have it.
Right.
But as I started to, visit my family, my friends' families, I could see that influence on my friends, and I didn't have it. Now, it didn't really mean anything because when I didn't have it, you just figure out other ways. But all through my life, I could see that I was here to kind of navigate my path without a lot of assistance from parents.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense, like I said, the grandkids, because if I'd had them in my life, I'd be over there, I'd be focused with that, you know.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
yeah,
And I'm
but
not taking anything away from that. Let me emphasize for anybody who may listen to this and for
oh,
you
yeah.
too.
But it's just, it doesn't work because it won't work out. You know what I
No,
mean? It's like fighting, it's not going to work. And it made sense once I got that horoscope. He said, that's not why you're here.
no. You're here
And
to continue to evolve. You're
right,
still learning new things based on information that others don't have, and they're not ready to really absorb it.
right. And I need to be basically by myself with a life where I can come and
Go
go.
where you need to
Yeah.
go
And
when
not
you're
be
drawn to
tied to,
go.
right.
And that's where I find myself. So
Yeah.
yeah, I left the house and things behind long ago, and I don't miss them because there were just more things I had to maintain along the way, which just takes your attention away from other things you want to spend your
I
attention
always
on.
say we don't own things, they own us.
Yeah. We don't understand that because that's not how we were conditioned. We were
No.
conditioned to have a house and things, and it's not like I don't want that. Here's what I was going to say a moment ago. We came here to have physical experiences.
Right.
And so my advice to everybody is enjoy it. Enjoy the planet. She's
Right.
beautiful and has lots of things to offer because the amount of 3-dimensional time we have remaining is finite.
It's short. Yeah.
Yes, it's coming to an end. Where we're going is going to be much more magnificent, but the earth in this is magnificent as it is.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Have your 3D experiences while you can. I'm holding different space. Yeah.
Yep. Well, I tell you, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me and kind of make some sense of things. At least feel like I'm not the only one,
You're not.
you know,
And that's the beauty of all of
saying things.
this.
You could, if you didn't know, like ringing in your ears or seeing the colors, if you didn't understand it, it's a little could be disturbing. I
It,
love the colors. They're beautiful, but yeah,
oh,
it's
if
beautiful.
people could understand the spectrums of color that I experience now, those inner earth images and that stuff that, look, I'm not an artist, don't claim to be. That imagery was pushed through me. And the difference between it, in my mind, was, it's all keyword driven. And when I began to use the phrase full spectrum color, I was blown away by the images that it produced. And my concern was that in order to print these, because I'd certainly been around the internet long enough to understand that even a monitor can change the colors that you see because of its ability to interpret them. I was starting to experience things, beyond all that. So when I had been asked to, produce these images so people could put them on their walls or put them on a dress or put them on these affirmation cards, the challenge in my mind was going to be whether those reproductions would represent the spectrums of color I was seeing. And I don't know how they did it, but they did. And the cards came out amazing. People that have received them have been triggered by them. And most recently, a couple of days ago, somebody had ordered a couple decks and she hadn't seen really the elementals yet. Well, when she opened them up, she said something encouraging. I hope people are going to be triggered in some way like I was.
Yeah.
When I saw the images, they were memories, in my opinion, of places I had been. And she expressed that same condition. She said, when I opened them up and I looked at them, I would pull one and I would meditate on it. And, I was drawn into the picture almost like I wanted to be drawn into the picture. I wanted to be in that environment. So that was the sensation that I got in the first place, which was the catalyst for me to create the cards. It wasn't that I was creating cards as I'd have some revenue stream. I was trying to figure out a way, and it might have been right around the time that you were starting to reach out and people wanted to have pictures for their walls. I was trying to figure out a way because I was getting feedback from people and they didn't know which one to pick. There were too many choices, Lowell. And so I thought, well, how do I get more pictures in somebody's hands? And that was when the idea of these affirmation cards came up. Make them like a tarot deck, and that way, let's just pick, we'll put 60 of them in there. You certainly had enough images to do that with. And so you could repurpose this into two things. One, these cards had activation pieces of them, components to them, that when people saw them, it triggered something. The affirmation gave them a little something during the day that gave you a little I am to possess. And here's the way you started your day. It wasn't my intention to blast these out there for everybody to have, is because I'm still about things. We don't need more things. I've invested more money into crystals. I gave all away. I never sold one of them. I gave them all away. That's what they were meant to do. But I don't need more. I certainly went through the phase where I had bracelets made out of crystals to assist in balancing my chakras. And there was a period of time where I understood I didn't need any of that anymore either. Look, you've got control of your being. Your job is just now to keep your vibration high, and you understand how your chakras work. And when there seems to be some blockage, you have the ability to narrow down which one needs attention. You fix it and you move on. And that's how we maintain this level of awareness and frequency and vibration that allows us to see the things we're expressing now. And our job is to help others who have this same sense to open it up within themselves. Yeah.
Well, the picture with all the crystals, it looks like a city to me. Like there's people in there.
Yes. Yes.
That's my favorite. And that one has triggered a lot of people when they come in the house. So there's ways that that can trigger.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because that one has triggered more people. Then I have one with the light coming up. But that one really triggers a lot of people. They make a lot of, they really get up to it and look at it, look for things in there. There's just a lot of things
Good.
in there.
Yeah.
So it's also a way to get it out there, kind of. You know what I mean? Like you're not saying anything, there's just a picture on the wall.
Honey, I bless your heart for saying that. In my mind, the less words I can attach to anything and just let the scene play out whatever you're going to be triggered by, in my opinion, that is what I was supposed to do. I was supposed to put these images out there because they triggered me. It should do the same thing. The reason I chose affirmations to put on the cards is to give them some kind of purpose. But that was the extent of the words I was going to put out. Even when you purchase the cards, there was one paragraph on the back of the box that explained how all of this came to me in the first place. And that was it. There's no other dialogue for you to read, nothing. I had been asked by one person to put together, when they saw the pictures and they couldn't decide, she was really the catalyst for me to figure out, okay, how do I get more pictures in one person's hands? She asked me to do like a coffee table book. I thought, well, hell, I can do that. And I used a platform called Bookymon at the time, because you can assemble your own books and they can come in any flavors. You want soft cover, black and white, they can do it. Want soft cover, full color, they can do that. Want hard cover, full color, or black and white, they can do anything you want. And so when I put this together, I came up with 2 books. She wanted Inner Earth and she wanted Elementals. And so I picked, I think there's 300 images in each book. And it had one page that just had titles of what each section represented. And that same paragraph that was on the back of the box was on the first page. Other than that, there's no dialogue and no words. It's a true coffee table book. You open these up and you saw those pictures in, like book page size, they were triggering. Now, when I finally finished the project, in order for someone to obtain one of these, they were going to be around $275. And I went, who the hell is going to spend $275 for a book? And that's when my guides kicked in and said, it didn't cost you anything to put this together, just your time to assemble it.
Right.
And so who are you to say what people are willing to spend their money on?
Right.
And when I thought of how much and what people are spending on all these crazy things, it certainly wasn't out of the realm of reason. And so she did, in fact, buy one of each of the books. Now, when you assemble one of these things to put on their platform, you spend $99 and it gives you a little ISBN number. So you're in the Library of Congress, you have a number that's unique. And then they send you your own copy. The book I had done on Telos before was soft cover. And if you saw it, it had, full color pictures in it. This one I had designed to be hardcover and full color glossy pages on the inside. So when I received it, I was kind of anxious to see how the colors came out. It freaking blew me away, Rhonda. Blew me away. I was delighted to be part of that exercise, but I knew that those pictures had more triggering in them, and they had nothing to do with any words on the page. I didn't have to say anything. You felt what was in this environment, and so mission accomplished.
Right. And each person could feel something different, right? And get something different. So
Correct.
you don't put
Yeah.
words, it more has it come out of them themselves.
The most effective assistance I've had from others is, and I'll use the crystal skull as a good example, because Bill Holman, who's the crystal keeper, the skull keeper, he has a gift to do that with. There's a gift to helping somebody connect with an artifact like that and not impose your own intention on what you hope that person's going to get out of it. That's a
Right.
real gift to be
Right.
able to help you make that connection and then step back and allow that to happen. That was my intent with these pictures, is to get myself out of the equation and let the media speak for itself in how it's going to communicate with others.
Yeah.
I'm very happy that it all came out that way.
Yeah. It certainly triggered me. So I'm ready to go.
We all are. There's a little bit of work left, and there's still certainly a lot of chaos around us.
There's a
But
lot of chaos, but I don't really, I might glance, see what's happening, but I don't focus on it. I
good
focus on,
for you.
yeah, I just want to take a little snapshot to know what's happening,
Right.
like earthquake over here or a fire, or whatever. But I don't dwell on it, like the
Good.
catastrophe of it.
Good.
Yeah, I think we'll have to be around to pick up the pieces for people, a little bit. I mean, we
They're
can't.
on their own. All I can say is that people need to tend to their own flames. And my frustration, if I allow it to reach that level, comes when I hear that somebody has found somebody else and they're tethered to them. And
Oh,
it appears as though the only way that you make any advancement is what these people are telling you is meant for you.
no,
That doesn't,
my
that
thing,
rubs me the wrong way in so
yeah,
many ways. I can't tell you.
my,
It's just
my thing
people
is
don't
always been,
realize what's inside of themselves.
right. People say, what do you get? What do you get? I said, I don't know. What do you get? you know, what do you get? It's to empower them
Yes.
that there's nothing, you're equal. There's not this hierarchy thing. You need to go
Correct.
inside. You got all the answers, to keep,
Yes.
that's my way of empowering people. Like
Yes.
tell them you have all the answers inside.
Quite true.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm willing to send you some money.
I am content that another tribe member showed up and validated some things for me. I had been asking, I had that video on the Solarians 2 days ago. I had pushed it back out to just the private group. And then I think I put it on the Facebook page for my website. It's not meant for everybody, but I did so hoping that others that resonated with it would all of a sudden show up and call to arms. And here you are. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was asking for like-minded individuals to show up to just help confirm that this effort is in fact going on. And so when I'm having these lousy, lower frequency impulses that are getting in my field, that I reach out for others that are going through the same things. And that's when I recognize we're on the other side of the retrograde now. Whatever might have been breaking our awareness, rising, it's out of the way. But we just had to clear all that crap because that just gets stuck in our aura, and we need to see past it energetically. And now we are. So stay tuned.
I will. And I appreciate all your videos and stuff.
Oh,
And
Good.
I've passed them on to other people and they're listening to them. So
Good.
it's just know that it's spreading.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, it is.
Good.
And I passed on your book and all that. So
Yeah, I hadn't thought of the book until recently. And all that was just those. Here's my journal notes. You want to find out what happened to me along the way and see if, some things like that might have happened to you. That's what its purpose was. Yeah. But again, it wasn't anything like thought everybody on the planet had to read this book. The ones that are supposed to read it, the ones that are supposed to see the things that are on my YouTube channel are meant for them. And I'm content with that small number of the ones that get it. This wasn't, I don't care about reaching tens of thousands of people because they're not ready for what I have to share with them. I hope that they will be. And it seems as though the tide's turning, because even since the beginning of the year, a lot more people who didn't know who I was are reaching out and claiming that they're aware of something beyond themselves that they weren't before. That's happening pretty freaking fast. And wow. I'm just here to assist in the process, but not to influence it.
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, let's finish here.
Okay.
I'll upload this to the YouTube channel and I'll put it out there unlisted and you can listen to it later as I will. And then if you decide that you want to share it, we can have that discussion then. Okay.
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 All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Rhonda. Have a great day, honey. All right.
You too. All right.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.